Welcome to the Thunder and Lightning Show. We have an interesting show for you today. John the Son of Thunder here with Ryan the Retrograde, and I think we skipped last week, so this should be a good one. To see what the commenters have to say. But we wanted to start off before we talk about the secret ordinations and the past history of the church. We want to talk about the support for SSPX. That it seems like, particularly Lifesite News, has been very supportive of the SSPX. So Ryan, what do you think about that?
Well, John, it's clear everybody's jumping on the SSPX bandwagon. Ladies and gentlemen, this program, always the vanguard of where the Catholic press is. We've been on the SSPX bandwagon since day one. Before it was cool to even be pro SSPX, this program was pro SSPX. Even though neither of us go to an SSPX chapel, but we've just
Yeah.
recognized the fact that they're the real deal, and they're leading the way. They have been leading the way, and they've been the rock of stability in the traditionalist movement since, with Archbishop Lefebvre, even since before Vatican II, through Vatican II, and then they were established in 1970. So it was quite interesting today. I don't know if I was doing research or what, but I stumbled upon 3 different articles slash YouTube stories that I sent to you, John, and Brett today. And the first one, you can find it in your email box, John. It's called SSPX Hitting the Catholic Mainstream, question mark. That's the title of the email that I sent you. But it's from a Lifesite News. Prayers answered. Catholics denied Mass during COVID lockdowns. Established new Latin Mass chapel. And that's in reference to this new chapel slash mission that is being established or has been established in Front Royal, Virginia. The backstory is that during the Blessed and Holy Virus shutdown, that Catholics in that area, in the whole diocese really of Arlington, Virginia, were looking for a mass, and Bishop Burbridge there had forbidden it and all this stuff. So some people called down at the seminary in Dillon, which is only 2.5 hours away from Front Royal, and they invited a priest up, and he was saying mass at a fairgrounds, and they ended up getting at least 300 people there. Maybe there was like 500 or something, because they said he gave out like 300 Holy Communions. Of course, you have smaller children, people who were abstaining, and that kind of thing. So they had a ton of people hanging out at that. Obviously, there was a need. And so they have established this chapel there. The thing that's interesting, I tried to do some research, and I did. It seems that before the motu in approprio, that there was a Sunday Latin Mass there in the town of Front Royal. I forget the parish, but I think it's at 12:30 in the afternoon, a Latin Mass at that parish, a diocesan sponsored. I don't know if that's changed since after the motu in approprio or not, but does it really matter? Because now if the SSPX has a mission there with an every Sunday Latin Mass, the diocese is basically going to have to keep keep that place open, or else all the trads are going to switch over to the SSPX. So there was that bit of information tonight.
Yeah,
I checked, but yeah, go ahead.
and I do want to stop right there and interject a little bit. No, and I lost my signal here. Let's see. This will be interesting. All right, am I back?
Yeah, you
There we
only
go.
hesitated for a little bit. You never were
Okay,
lost.
yeah. So I blinked on my screen. I can see it. Signal's a little bit shaky, but with that, they were having like their parking lot masses, right? And
Yeah.
so they called up the SSPX, which is 2.5 hours away. Now, how many diocesan priests would travel 2.5 hours to people that wanted the mass? I mean,
Maybe like
it
one,
doesn't
but
it doesn't even seem realistic,
no. I
you
mean,
know?
what are they going to say? Are they going to say like, "Oh, my precious obedience, oh, Bishop
Yeah,
Burbridge"? So obedience to them means when the bishop says don't do mass, they're like, "Oh, under holy obedience, I will not offer the mass for people." It shows how
but
twisted this obedience is.
Well, and I made the point several times that I think that with parking lot masses, like the SSPX were doing quite a bit of those. How hard is it to get a church with a parking lot and to have an outdoor, or like even behind in like a heated area, like space heaters or something, if it's cold outside, for the priest to do that? Like, I didn't see how, why it was so difficult to even think of that. You
I
know what
don't
I
know.
mean?
I don't have the
So
answer to that one.
it's like, okay, we're not going to offer you the mass. You can either watch it, or like you can watch it, you can live stream it, but don't you dare go to an SSPX mass, even if you're driving into a parking lot and you won't be receiving communion. It's like, wait, hold on, you know, like you can watch a Latin mass on a live stream. You can watch an Orthodox liturgy on a live stream. You can watch a heretical Protestant ceremony on a live stream. So
But
what's the harm with
But
going?
SSPX anathema sit. It's the only time the Vatican II religion calls down an anathema is when somebody's talking about like Buddhism, Islam, Anglicanism, Eastern Orthodox. SSPX excommunicated. Absolutely not, never.
Yes, I don't know. Do you want to get to your next story?
Well, the next story was then on my way home from work, I queued up a YouTube, and it was an SSPX YouTube just released this evening. And they were interviewing Father, I think it's Trevor Burfitt, who is the chaplain, pastor, or whatever they call them, at the SSPX Church Our Lady of the Angels in Arcadia. Which, by the way, I actually attended that. That was the first time I ever attended an SSPX. Was at that chapel in Arcadia, California. I was out there
Oh,
for the Rose Bowl when Penn State was in the Rose Bowl, and I went there on January 1st. And it's quite a rather large church. The only thing I remember a lot of stuff, but Holy Communion took like 20 minutes. I prayed an entire rosary while Holy Communion was going on. There's
wow.
that many people there. Yeah, it was crazy. And anyway, so that priest didn't celebrate the mass when I was there. I don't know if he transferred or whatever. But Father Trevor Burfitt, he was on the YouTube Lifesite YouTube tonight. He actually sued the state of California with the help of Christopher
Oh,
Ferrara and his band of merry lawyers, and they won in a court of law and beat Gruesome Newsom. They beat him in a court case, and so oh, hi Pat. Patty says hello. Um, so they beat Gruesome Newsom in a court case, and that was overturned, and they won the right for all Catholic priests and bishops to have Mass again. So again, the SSPX saved the Latin Mass for everybody in the whole world in the 70s. Now they saved the Mass for everybody in the whole world, Novus Ordo included, in California. Okay, so that was a great thing. Now, what was very interesting, John and viewers, I urge you all, it was only less than a 10-minute video. Please go and watch that because they asked Father Burfitt, why did nobody in the diocesan structure do anything to try to like fight or to get the mass, or why didn't anybody disobey the authorities? And Father Burfitt pointed out two things that are very important. One is the false idea of obedience that exists among Novus Ordo priests, where they say that obedience is the highest good, and then the salvation of souls is below that. So you have the highest obedience is obedience. Yes, there it is, Captain Catholic. Novus Ordo has twisted interpretation of obedience. True, because they put obedience as the highest good, and then the faith is second, and salvation of souls and whatever else is down here, like tradition is down here and whatever. Blind obedience was never a thing. For Catholics, true, but for the Novus Ordo sect, it is a thing. And I go back to the reason for that is because the Novus Ordo completely detached itself as a rupture from tradition. And the only way you can justify a rupture from tradition is sola obedientia. There's a couple choices. One, you can be like Mormons and claim that you have a new revelation from secret magical plates that were discovered in your basement and only you can read them and that kind of thing. And by the way, all your girls belong to me because polygamy is legal. Okay. That's one possibility. Get a secret new revelation. The second possibility is to just kind of like change the source of revelation. Well, I guess that's kind of number one, or twist the interpretation to the point where formerly you had a three-legged stool, which was scripture, tradition, and the magisterium, and you upend that whole thing and you take scripture and tradition and you put it lower than the magisterium. So effectively, you're like got a guy riding around on a unicycle out there, and he's doing this and trying to keep the thing upright. But that's the only way you can do it. So the Novus Ordo sect is sola obedientia. This is the heresy of the 21st century, is sola obedientia. So back to Father Burfitt. He said that Novus Ordo priests have this skewed idea of obedience as if it's the higher good, and they don't put it into its proper place with respect to scripture, tradition, and the magisterium. And then another tremendous thing that he points out is that the priesthood is really, really damaged in the Novus Ordo. And I forget how this is tied into obedience. Maybe it's because of the bad formation. But he points out the fact that SSPX priests, because they live in a community and pray in community and have an identity, they are much better able to fight through persecutions and fight against corrupt authority in order to bring the sacraments to people. And that's the whole reason that you're a priest, is to bring the sacraments to people, not to be a paper pusher, not to just say like, oh, obedience. That's what they love to. It's like, obedience. That's what they're all about. And Father Burfitt points out, he says that's could be cowardice masking itself as obedience. Because here you have the bishop who hides behind obedience to the secular authorities and saying like, okay, I'm going to cancel the mass. Then you have parish priests who cowardly hide behind the diocesan bishop and say like, well, I'm not going to go against him. So guess what? The mass is canceled. And then that goes all the way down to the laity who are like, the laity say, oh, I can't attend an SSPX mass. I can't attend, so I'm going to sit at home. I have to be obedient to the mainstream diocesan structure. So all through obedience, you've just been swindled out of all the sacraments because of your holy obedience. The plan is set. Listen to me. If the bad guys are smart, which I think they are, they're inspired by the devil, they have the secret key to unlock every door to destroy the mainstream Catholic Church. And that's through the power of obedience. They've already got control of the bishops through Bergoglio and his henchmen. So the order is going to come down again soon, mark my word, shut down the mass, and all the mainstreams will do it. Now, the question is, are the lay people, the people who actually want the sacraments, are they going to stand up and say, no, we're going to go to underground masses, we're going to go to SSPX, we're going to go to independence, we're going to go to Sedevacantists, we're going to get whatever we can get to get these sacraments. And that's the decision that they have to make, because you know that these guys have no supernatural faith. To quote Vigano and Schneider, there is no supernatural faith for most of these people.
So if the masses are shut down again, I don't see, and that's the thing. To me, it's hard to predict that they will be, because I don't think it's certainly not going to be a popular decision. And I think
was it popular at the beginning?
I think a lot of people had no game plan, but I think a lot of priests now, if the masses are shut down, a lot of priests won't comply.
You think so? I haven't seen any evidence that a priest is not going to comply.
Okay, well, I mean, we'll find out. I just don't think that. I don't expect them to be shut down. I mean, I feel like I don't have like a super game plan, but I feel like I have options. You know, whereas before I didn't. So, like,
I don't think the
but
bishops have learned anything. I think that they're totally on board with shutdowns.
all right, well, I guess we'll find out. I mean, like I said, I don't expect it to be a shutdown. I mean, you know,
Do you expect? I
that's
mean,
what
here's another question: do you expect there to be shortages if they're not already of
shortages
food
of.
and stuff like that? Anything?
Well, that's a possibility.
It's already happening. I hear reports that stores have empty shelves. I rarely go to the
Yeah,
grocery store, and the stuff that I buy is always in stock. So, but I've heard from relatives and people I work with that there are empty shelves in stores. I heard that, for instance, cereal bars are hard to get. Certain kinds of
yeah.
flour. Apparently, there's a donut shortage in some places. What's Homer Simpson going to do? There's a donut shortage. What are the police going to do? There's a donut shortage.
What are the bishops going to do?
Yeah.
Well, the donuts. I mean, those aren't hard to make, are they?
No, it's flour, water, and sugar. So what's short? I don't
Why do you need the
understand.
deep fryer?
I'm sure they have that. I'm sure is there oil? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't know. I guess yeah, I did hear there's the real food's kind of dwindling a little bit. Like, unlike the fake stuff that the canned food and everything. There's most of the food on the shelves are fake. I mean, you
Just like
know,
everything's fake in 2021. I
yeah,
mean, you have
really.
fake elected officials with. Uh, I can't even say any of this stuff because we'll go the way of
Census
census
Fidelia.
fidelium. Parent Ryan will come out of the woodwork and get us canceled, but everything's fake. So
Yeah. All right. What was? Did you have any more
yeah, well, let's move
articles
on to
about?
the second YouTube show, which I watched when I was eating dinner, which was another Lifesite piece, and it was an information about the new SSPX chapel there in Front Royal, and they talked to some people there, and they talked to the priest, and they went down to the seminary in Dilwyn and talked about that. So it was another pro SSPX piece from Lifesite. So um, it's a good sign. You can clearly see this. This will eventually lead us into our main story about clandestine ordinations. But it's clear that the mask is coming off and people are paying attention, okay? And seeing what's going on. And they see that the SSPX is the real deal. The diocesans, if you can get them, great, go there, but don't expect them to fight for everything through thick and thin. They're going to fold up the tent, fold up like a cheap tent, and go hide in the basement, and they'll pull the obedience card when you say like, why aren't you doing anything? They'll just pull out the card that says sola obediencia, and that's their get out of jail free. They don't have to answer to you because they just say, my bishop said don't do anything. My bishop said just sit in the basement and watch reruns of Seinfeld and Designing Women, and it's that then I'll be safe. So you're watching Designing Women and Golden Girls instead of giving the sacraments, all under the whole the sola obediencia. So
Hey, it would be more productive to watch Extreme Cheapskates. But anyway, with
yeah,
LifeSite News, yeah, they have, at least you pointed this out pre-show, because I said, well, they have that one guy, Stephen Cox. His last name was spelled Kokx. He attends an SSPX chapel, and Church Militant was very happy to point that out. And then they have Kennedy Hall, who's SSPX as well,
mhm.
in Canada. And actually, I think like half of their employees are from Canada, because on Meaning of Catholic, they had like almost an entire show talking about LifeSite News, because Kennedy Hall announced he was writing for them. And that was when, what's his name? Tim Flanders said he was going to be the editor of 1 Peter 5. And so it was like an interesting show. But
It was a love
Life's,
fest.
yeah, with LifeSite News, they have they have several of them that seem to be at least SSPX friendly. They ran a story previously on a Michigan chapel that opened up and invited an SSPX priest in, and so and it's interesting to see them go that direction. They're not overtly SSPX, but they just want to. I think that they can see the signs of the times, and the signs of the time are leading us to the SSPX. I mean, I don't know that the SSPX is going to save everyone, because I don't think they have the capability or the capacity, the
Yeah, they don't
availability
have
of
enough
priests to do
priests.
that.
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of cases, they are in the side of good, and they are going to help out a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
and that's what's going on now. People through the lockdowns, they saw that how solicitous the SSPX was. I mean, just mention all this stuff where people are contacting the SSPX because they lost their Latin masses because of the motu inaproprio. You know, you did a show last week about Altoona, Johnstown. There's probably other places. Front Royal set up a chapel because they lost the mass during the virus, and it's a safety net, and people who care, Catholics who care, they pay attention to this stuff and they see who is willing to help us. And right now it's SSPX is willing to basically go anywhere and do anything, and in order to bring the sacraments to people. And so that's warming a lot of heart. It's a heartwarming story. It should be on life on as a Lifetime movie where a faithful Catholic lonely meets meets the SSPX and they develop a romance. Anyway, I was going to say SSPX priest, but that would be like the Thornbirds movie or mini series or whatever, where some woman falls in love with a priest. But anyway, it's the hearts are being warmed to the SSPX because of how inept and bad bishops are, including the
yeah,
Bishop of Rome.
yeah. And the last thing I want to say on that is Steve Jalsevec is the co-owner of Lifesite News, and he is apparently Opus Dei.
Wow.
So apparently, yeah, at least from what I've seen. So he's allowing these stories to be run, and yeah, so maybe he's not. Maybe he's not
Yeah.
Opus Dei.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's that's really that's really it. I think we kind of carried on for a while on this conversation. So
Well, I wanted to have some filler here. You know, it's like
yeah,
having a 3 hour program. You have to talk about some other stuff. You have to warm up the crowd. Before we talk about clandestine ordinations, let's catch up on these comments here. Michael Getz, we'll talk to, he mentioned Vigano Schneider. We'll talk about that after we get to clandestine ordinations. Patty, Michael Getz says SSPX is his last choice. That's that's your prerogative there. Whatever you do to get the sacraments, that's okay with me as long as you have the Catholic faith. If you want to go diocesan, go diocesan. If you want to go SSPX, go SSPX. If you want to go Byzantine, go Byzantine. If you're a sedevacantist, well, I guess you have to follow your conscience and do whatever you do there. I'm not a sedevacantist, but we love them here on this program, and they're always welcome to contribute. So Tony Rock says there's going to be shortages. That's the plan. Work at a school, food. Yeah, so it seems that he says he works at a school, and it's starting to go short with juices. Does that mean they only have juices and cheese sticks, or are they short on juices and cheese sticks? Whatever it is, there's shortages everywhere. John, I don't know if we mentioned this maybe this weekend or the past week. Where are all the people? Where are the employees? Everybody's hiring and nobody's working.
well,
So did people die?
no, the
Did the
employees were all fired because of
they were
job mandates.
well, but why are they not looking for jobs? Because everybody's hiring. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
understand.
it's interesting. I don't know if the unemployment program is still in effect or not.
No, I think
With
in Pennsylvania it's over, and all those Trump bucks and Biden bucks, they've all evaporated. The 600 extra per week, I think that's gone.
Yeah, I know that ended a while ago. It was decreased, and then but I wonder if they're still on unemployment. Like, can you be on long-term unemployment, or does it expire after a few years, or what?
I
Because at
don't
a
know.
certain point, I thought they cut you off after a while.
I thought it lasted 6 months. Maybe it was extended to a year. I don't know, but maybe the rapture happened. See, we're Catholics, and so we don't believe in that rapture, and obviously we don't know any Bible Protestants or whatever, even though I love them, maybe they were all raptured. Maybe that's why there's no employees. But I don't know. Chick-fil-A is still open. So if there was a bunch of Bible Christians that were all raptured, Chick-fil-A would probably be closed. So I think that theory is just that theory was just raptured.
I love it because I did some research on that in like the Book of Revelation and the Apocalypse, and the Catholic perspective compared to the Protestant. Some crazy stuff, and it always applies to the modern times. It always applies to someone. It always applies to someone who who says, "Oh, this could happen in the next year, the next 6 months, or the next month."
Yeah.
And they make a lot of money. They write a few books, and then it doesn't really happen. And move on to the next prophecy, right?
I should get into this scheme of writing interpretive books off of Revelation to make millions.
I don't know if that's a good ambition. But
well, it's probably not. Parent Ryan would want to do it, but it's probably a sin.
But I mean, would he though? I don't think because Jesuits don't want to talk about the end of the world because the modern world is what you need to embrace.
I don't know what what he would do? He would do a biopic on some fundamentalist Protestants and how they're obsessed with the end of the world or whatever. So he would make a documentary about that, making fun of them, and then he would sell that to all his woke people who would watch it. They would watch the thing as like a membership card in the woke society, and then he would make millions.
Wow. That's an interesting take. So maybe these people that are predicting the end of the world are actually like the people that are following these, so-called prophets. These people are just trying to make money by writing a documentary.
Possibly, I don't know. That's kind of a meta conspiracy theory there.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, Michael Getz says we will be left only with our rosaries and the sign of her son. True, that was a message from Our Lady, I believe at Akita. Captain Catholic right after that. Anyone who wants to continue practicing the faith and receiving the sacraments will eventually have to attend SSPX or Sedevacantis. The dioceses are in allegiance with the state. Sadly, Captain, it seems that way.
Yeah.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
Michael Getz, 721. How could I honestly attend SSPX if I'm not a Sedevacantis? Well, how could you attend them if you are Sedevacantis? Because you wouldn't be welcome. Because the SSPX is not Sedevacantis. So,
in fact, I've heard a rumor that they had a photo of Pope Francis in the back of the church.
I think that's true in all their chapels, isn't it?
I haven't been to all their chapels, but
well, the one that I was at in California, there was a photo of Pope Francis back there, and I forget who the diocesan bishop was. It may have been Gomez at that time. They had a photo of him in the back.
Okay.
Francisco Tristan, he wants to know our take on Medjugorje. That's a whole nother show, but
maybe we'll get to the end.
I'm agnostic on Medjugorje. You believe it if you want. I don't have
really a lot to say on that.
I don't have much of an opinion.
Yeah, I know several people that have gone, and a bunch of them have had like conversion experiences there.
I've heard that, yeah.
And but I've also seen like research that was done on like the supposed visionaries, and they're kind of like frauds, and they have I don't want to spread rumors here, but I think they have like second houses in Florida or something, and they sure made a lot of money off it.
Hey, I have a second house in Florida. What are you trying to say?
Never mind. I have one of those RVs. What do you call it? It costs even more than a house.
Yeah, like a camper bus, luxury.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be sweet to take a Latin Mass tour? I've talked about it before.
That would be awesome. If I lose my job for no jab, I could go on a Latin Mass tour. I would buy a camper van.
Well, actually, I went across the country. I don't know that anyone. I mean, if you've seen my second channel, Appleseed Outdoors, you'll see that I have footage from all these Western national parks. And I did take a tour in 2017 out west, and I stayed at a bunch of hotels. That's really, and I spent. Let me think about this. I believe I spent less than $2,000 total on the trip. I maybe it's less than 3,000. Don't quote me on that, but you can go on a long trip for cheap, and the hotels were dirt cheap because it was winter when I went, and some of them were like nice hotels. Like they weren't Hilton or anything like that, but they were like the one I drove up to, and I was like, I paid $50, and this thing looks like. I mean, it looked like just this super rich hotel, and I got it for less than $50. And I was
Wow.
like, what?
It's the kind of hotel that the USCCB stays at for their meetings, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of looked like it. And then some of the ones had like a full kitchen, and it was some of the like you can get decent prices, and you can travel low budget is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
a Latin Mass tour isn't out of the realm of possibility, and the only thing that would prevent me from doing it would be jab mandates.
Well, I don't think you need a jab mandate to. Well, maybe just I don't know to drive
Yeah,
around in a camper van doesn't require any jab stuff, but
maybe I'll do it even if I don't lose my job. Maybe I'll quit my job and take a Latin Mass tour.
yeah, it'd be
You
nice
heard
if
it
you
here
could.
first.
Yeah, you heard it here. John promises to quit his job. He'll turn in his 2 weeks' notice tomorrow. Then he's going to do this national, make it international, go to Canada and Mexico. And even you
Ooh.
can drive to South America. John, you should attend every Latin Mass chapel in North and South America and let us know. It would be a great YouTube channel. Think about that. You'd have
Well,
1 million subscribers.
Mexico is a little bit sketchy. I don't know that I'd be comfortable driving myself around
Well,
there.
you could get a friend, phone a friend, or get somebody local who's got connections to a gang. Maybe they have guns and can be your protection or whatever.
Well, I'll tell you what. Make it happen, guys. If you sign up for our Patreon.
Patreon, super duper unobtainium level, 10,000 a month, and you can fund John's trip to crime-ridden Mexico. Doesn't our friend Guzel, he is from I don't remember. What's the gender of Guzel?
I think it's a man.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, so he's from Mexico, and so maybe he could hook you up with somebody, and you could go down there. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
All right.
and I think that it actually is a realistic possibility. But you can also sign up for our cruise, our retreat at sea, luxury cruise. All you can eat, all you can drink.
Parent Ryan will be there to celebrate what he considers to be a mass, but you probably don't want to attend. Yeah. You can meet Parent Ryan. I mean, that's the highlight of the thing there.
And we'll have a great meatless Friday with lobster and all you can eat seafood. It's going to be a great penitential Friday, and
Parent Ryan will he'll be eating filet mignon.
I mean, this is like this is clearly like we're doing a parody of Church Militant now.
What do you mean parody? This is real life. You might be joking, but I'm not. This is what the Patreon levels are all about.
Well, why don't we get into the real show?
All right, what is the real show? Remind me again. What did you advertise?
It's about secret ordinations and secret consecration.
Don't tell anybody it's a secret. Okay, so I guess it's not a secret anymore because it was on 1 Peter 5. The great
ordinations.
Don't tell anybody. We'll be suspended or excommunicated. So the Quaz has spoke. Thus speaketh the Quaz. And he pointed out we can learn from Cardinal Wojtyła and Cardinal Slippy, 2 guys from the Eastern Bloc who, under the regime of Paul the unhappy regime of Paul VI, they violated all ecclesiastical laws and disciplines and ordained priests for suppressed dioceses that were under interdict, for bishops who were under interdict and couldn't do anything. And so let's just go through that. He first kicks off with JP2. He mentions that Paul VI, to appease the communists, especially in Czechoslovakia had suppressed these dioceses and to cooperate with them. And he said, okay, nobody's allowed to ordain any more priests. Now, Weigel claims that Paul VI knew about this in secret and said it's totally okay. But that doesn't seem to be the case because there's no evidence of that. And it seems that Cardinal Wojtyła, future JP2, just said that this prohibition on ordinations for these dioceses is stupid, and it hurts the faithful in the Catholic faith. So I am going to obey. See, Catholics, Father Burford pointed this out. Catholics have to be obedient, but we have to have our obedience at the various levels. So at the highest is Almighty God, the salvation of souls, and then all this other stuff is there. So Wojtyła put salvation of souls in its right place rather than obedience to the Pope and obedience to the communist authorities, which is down here or maybe even off the screen. For the salvation of souls, he ordained these priests in secret. So he did it. And now people want to sidestep this, like you probably noticed that Steve Cunningham if you watched the rundown on Friday, he got all touchy and he was all angry because of the cognitive dissonance, because it was brought up that Wojtyła and Slippy broke church law and disobeyed the Pope to do these secret ordinations. And he didn't want to hear it because it challenges his narrative of sola obedientia. So he about had a nervous breakdown. People want to, if you even mention this, people were like attacking each other on Twitter because you're not even allowed to talk about it. It's like, certain medicines or illnesses or whatever. You can't mention it on Twitter, it'll get shut down.
Hey, was that Steve from Sensus Fidelium?
Yes.
And he's opposed to the secret ordinations?
He says he didn't have any comment on these secret ordinations, but he's against SSPX and Lefebvre.
What? I thought he was supportive of them.
No, he's not.
Huh. Interesting. I guess I need to pay more attention.
Yeah, I mean, he himself is an interesting character, but I don't even know if he attends the Old Mass. He might be a Novus Ordo Catholic. He believes in the faith and runs a good channel and all that, and he's against the jab and the mandates and all that stuff. But when it comes to Latin Mass or SSPX, his opinions aren't really, they're not right.
Did he get, did the rest of the guys like pile on then?
They were respectful. Brother Martin kind of went after him, and then the whole audience ripped on him, and they wanted to tar and feather him and throw him off the show. But so then the guys defended him, and they were like, "Wait a minute, don't pick on Steve. We love Steve. He's our friend." That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, when you have a bad opinion of him.
Be a man. If you have a bad opinion, people are going to rip on you. If I said something crazy like, "I love the Novus Ordo, it's the best," and then the whole comment box was people ripping on me, I don't know if I would like cry and rage quit or whatever. I don't know what you would do. Would you try to defend me, or would you say, "Ryan, I think you're 100% wrong"?
I don't know. I'd probably be in such shock that I'd have to take a few days to figure out what I wanted to do.
You would be as shocked as Cardinal Wuerl and Father Rosica were when they heard that Uncle Ted was a creepy molester.
We were shocked. Absolutely shocked. No one is more shocked than I am to find out that Uncle Ted was sleeping with seminarians.
It would probably take me a while to figure out you weren't joking.
If it sounds too outrageous to be true, just assume that I'm joking, okay?
Yeah.
Captain Catholic asked what I'm drinking. Yes, Captain, it is Coors Light. You should figure out, am I drinking Coors Light ironically or unironically? It's a good question. Discuss amongst yourselves in the comment box. But let's move on to Cardinal Slippy, who went one step further and like super duper broke canon law. He, in secret, consecrated 3 bishops for the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church in 1976 because he knew basically the whole thing was going to die off. There was only 300 priests left. Everybody was over 70 years old because the Soviets hadn't allowed any ordinations and like forever. And so Cardinal Slippy consecrated 3 bishops in secret there, one of whom was Cardinal Lubomir Husar, who became the head of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church after Cardinal Slippy. I don't know if he succeeded Cardinal Slippy or there was somebody in between. But so Slippy was suspended. Actually, he may have been excommunicated. I'm not sure what canon law was in 1976. Because it was after canon law was changed by Pius XII when the Chinese did those schismatic consecrations. Oh, did I say that? Chinese bishops doing schismatic consecrations? Wow, who would have ever thought that would happen?
So this Bishop Slippy
Yeah.
is so in that region, Ukraine, was that under communist rule at the time whenever he did those consecrations?
Ukraine. Yes, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union at that time.
Yes, okay. That's what I thought. So would that have played a role? Like, would that have been a reason why the priesthood had declined? Like, there were so few priests and so few bishops was because of the Soviet Union's like supposed crackdown on this.
The Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church was illegal at that time, so it was completely underground. Okay. And Cardinal Slippy spent some number of years in a gulag, and the priests had to do everything underground. Now, he couldn't actually consecrate any bishops in Ukraine, but they would have let him do it in Rome. He could have consecrated a bunch of bishops publicly for the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church above ground in Rome. But then, I don't know, maybe they would have figured, well, they'll never let those guys back in the country because they'll know they're bishops. So, he kind of figured the best thing to do was do it in secret, consecrate these bishops. And again, people are going to say, well, Paul VI knew, and he gave a wink and a nod and let him do it. But where's the paperwork, It was it was a secret ordination. There was no papers. It wasn't published anywhere. So on the surface, it's definitely illegal. So now Kwasniewski ties all the pieces of the puzzle together, and he says, look, this is pretty much exactly what Archbishop Lefebvre did when he went out there and disobeyed these canon law and consecrated bishops for SSPX / the Catholic Church / preserving tradition / Operation Survival. And Quaz points out that the highest of the canonical dictates is Salus Animarum Suprema Lex. The salvation of souls is the highest law. And that's the whole reason why the whole church exists. So there can be situations of anarchy or breakdown, corruption or apostasy, where the ordinary structures become impediments to rather than facilitators of the church's mission. So in these cases, the voice of conscience dictates that one does what needs to be done in prudence and charity for the achievement of the sovereign law. So it does seem like, and he even ties it together and says that the Vatican had essentially made a deal, not with the Soviets or the communists, but with the modern world through Vatican II to suppress tradition and snuff it out and replace it with this facsimile called the Novus Ordo. And Archbishop Lefebvre was unwilling to go along with that. And so he consecrated bishops, not in secret, but in a public act of counter-revolutionary activity against the Vatican II communist-aligned regime. And so it's a great point. All these pieces of the puzzle are coming together now. I think everybody's getting more on board with what Archbishop Lefebvre did and how he really did see this as being this is for the whole survival of the church. Now, Quaz gets in here and talks about the fact that how important it was for Archbishop Lefebvre to keep alive the Roman Rite, because it was basically dead and on life support at that time. There were no new ordinations. And it's thanks to Archbishop Lefebvre that he kept alive the Roman Rite. Nobody else was doing ordinations in the old rite or Mass in the old rite. No bishops in the mainstream church. Okay, there were some sedevacantists who were way out on the fringes. I'm talking about Archbishop Tuke and some of these other guys like the CMRIs that had probably, perhaps, I don't know, had orders through the old Catholic Church. Nobody really knows. But it was thanks to Lefebvre that we have all this tradition in the church right now. So even if you disagree with Lefebvre doing making bishops, it's because of him that you have Fraternity of St. Peter, Institute of Christ the King, Institute of the Good Shepherd, all these orders like the Benedictines in Les Barreaux, Clear Creek. There might be one or two other Benedictine groups. All these orders all have thanks to Archbishop Lefebvre, continuing to keep the old sacraments in defiance of the compromisers in Rome.
Yeah, I think JP2 Wojtyła, is that how you say it? Wojtyła?
Yeah, you said it right.
Wojtyła? He consecrated, or he did these secret ordinations of priests, and it's interesting. Was that in Slovakia?
It happened in Poland, actually, but they were bishops for Slovakia, for Czechoslovakia.
Okay, and that was communist, like run by communists, right? That was
Yeah, they were pretty brutal there. They were much more brutal against the church in Czechoslovakia than they were in Poland.
Okay, and so that's one like really good aspect of JP2 was that he was very anti-communist, and compare and contrast that to our current Vatican today. But he, that, and like we're not saying we're against these secret ordinations,
No, I'm for them.
That's the thing. So it's not like, oh well, JP2 did it, so that makes no. It's like these secret ordinations, I don't know that you can really argue against them. I mean, other than blind obedience.
Nobody's arguing. That's the point. Yes, you're right. Nobody's arguing against them, and nobody's even stupid enough to say, oh, obedience, blind obedience. Nobody's even pulling that out, because what they're doing is they're retroactively applying and saying, well, the Soviets were the evil empire. JP2 was a saint, so was Slippy. So what they did is justified. Now, let's say you said the same thing about Archbishop Lefebvre. Oh, Archbishop Lefebvre is a saint, and obviously the Vatican IIists were an evil empire, so Lefebvre obviously was right. Well, that's what people are going to be saying 50, 100 years from now. There's no question. Everybody knows that Lefebvre is going to be rehabilitated and canonized. There's no question about it. And so that's what people are going to do. They'll gloss over all the stupidity of Paul VI and Pope John Paul II, not Cardinal Wojtyła, or at least his handlers or whoever was running the show. I don't know, Ratzinger, I'm not sure. But they're going to gloss over all that. And they're going to say, yes, Lefebvre was right. Thank God for him and his ordinations. He kept the Roman Rite alive, kept these traditionally ordained and educated priests alive. Thank God for him.
All right. You want to get to some of the comments?
Yeah, let's go through. So Captain at 741 said I should drink a Coors Banquet next time. Captain, I looked for Coors Banquet, but they didn't have it at the six-pack shop that I went to. And they have it in cans, but I'm not going to buy like a 12 or 24 pack of Coors Banquet cans. I just wanted a six-pack.
I want to work my way back here.
Oh, okay.
So Catholic Northman told me to rent a Lambo.
Wow.
Here's the problem. I don't have that much money. A Lambo, it probably used, it would probably cost about 100 to 200,000, and then I think the insurance is like 30,000 a year.
Is it that much?
I believe so. It's 20 to 30,000 a year on a Lamborghini. Yeah. So, and really, that's actually my dream car. And I said, well, just get that out of the way right away. I'm not getting my dream car, so I'll just settle for.
What if you ended
I'll,
up winning the lottery? Would you still get a Lamborghini?
nope, nope. I'd probably buy a Prius and pretend like I'm a liberal. But it's good. Apparently, it's good on gas, so that's why I buy it. You know.
Yeah, I drove one
But-
before. It's a fun car to drive, the Prius.
But at the same time, what are like? How much does a vehicle cost? And I don't buy new vehicles. That's another. So we're talking about extreme cheapskates. And this is a little bit of a practical lifestyle here. Lifestyle lessons. You know, you can really cut down
Lifestyles of the
expenses.
radical traditionalist and
Yeah, I mean,
and non-famous.
you don't necessarily need two incomes when you have a family. That's the thing. You don't need to be making $150,000 to support your family unless you live in New York City, or LA.
Or DC.
But yeah, but anywhere else, I mean, you can see what you can do on a single income, and there's a lot of ways to save money. And part of it's like, not all your kids need iPhones. Like, I don't know. It's just, I think everyone's on the same page with me.
How can a kid live without a phone? Come on.
I don't know. I mean,
it's more important than food.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it is. I want to get to this comment here. The Aztec ritual in San Bernardino. I saw a photo of it. Someone was dressed in like a Native American headdress, and there were these guys playing drums. And what is it with all these indigenous rituals? I mean, I think I was talking to someone recently. He said on the Knights of Columbus magazine, the front page, might have been last year, they had like these people dressed up in the Native American outfits for like some church ceremony or something. And it's like, what is it with this obsession with the Native Americans that they need to wear these headdresses into Catholic masses? And
well, you showed the one video, I think it was on this channel, where there was that goofy ceremony that was presided over by the Holy Wilton.
Yeah, DC.
Yeah, it was like on Our Lady Guadalupe, and they had some guys in Indian dress come in there wearing loincloths, beating on drums, and carrying on, dancing.
Yeah, up the center aisle.
Yeah. And then, of course, they were wearing a loincloth below the waist and then a loincloth over the mouth, a.k.a. a mask.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
weird.
Just an obsession almost. It's like our Catholic faith isn't good enough, so we have to have indigenous, ceremonies.
Well, there you go. You're right. It's not good enough. There's no mysticism and actual real religion in it, so they have to introduce pagan spells and rituals. So you have Aztecs, Mayas, Incas, and all this stuff.
Go check it out on Complicit Clergy's website or on their YouTube channel if you can find that. Okay. Moving on.
RR said at 7:53 they had a guy casting spells.
SSPX moved way up on my list.
So Michael has become
have you converted to SSPX?
A fan converted to SSPX. I won't presume that, but that's good. We
I don't. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is,
we cleared up misconceptions about SSPX.
We've been saying this from the beginning. Whenever a church militant just bash the SSPX because Taylor Marshall attended there because he had no other options.
Yeah, Taylor Marshall went on Easter Sunday of all times because there was nothing available. There was no mass. So Taylor Marshall, if he wants to go to mass, he goes to SSPX. Why not? I mean, the Pope said it's okay. If you believe that Bergoglio's Pope, you have to listen to him. And so because, sola obedientia or whatnot, I'm kind of exaggerating here, but Francis did say, effectively, read between the lines, wink, wink, you can go to SSPX if you want to.
I've been saying if you're uncomfortable with SSPX, don't go. I mean that's
go Byzantine or I don't know, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, find something else.
Just don't go to a Pachamama service or an Aztec ritual with feathers and spells.
Yeah, really.
Don't do that. I forbid you.
There were Roman type priests like Father Normandy that helped form communities that later became SSPX parishes. All right, I don't know that
I
history.
think he's talking about the 70s, probably.
Oh wow.
I'm not sure.
Okay, what's this one? They had some guys casting spells with a feather. Oh, so he's channeling his inner Harry Potter.
Well, Parent Ryan would be happy. Guys with feathers casting spells.
That's this a bit of good, cool paganism.
Cool paganism.
That'll get the youth. Let's cast spells.
But it
I'm
doesn't.
in Hufflepuff, and you're in Slytherin, and let's go.
Yeah. But it doesn't. It doesn't inspire the youth. Because they don't. How many youth intend to know the sword of mass? The ones that their parents make them, and then they leave.
I don't know. Some do attend, but I don't know if they're there for spells and balloons and clowns. I don't think so.
I don't think the demographics are very good. And while we're at it, how about the Synod?
Oh,
That's what the ceremony was for in San Bernardino. Was for the opening of the Synod. So it's basically a continuation of the Amazon Synod.
yeah.
But, like with this Synod, what I don't know how anyone can take it seriously, because it's like, all right, let's bring the well, okay, we have an idea of the people that attend Mass, what they actually want, because they actually want the Catholic faith. So let's bring in other people to tell us more of what we want to hear.
Yeah.
So let's bring in the Catholics that have left, because one of their friends or kids are LMNOP or whatever. Or let's bring in people that were never Catholic in the first place, and you know, that's why a lot of people are saying this could be another Vatican III.
Yeah.
Because they did that at Vatican II. They brought in some Protestants, and took up the seats that Catholics would normally take up at councils.
Yeah.
Okay. The indigenous rituals are a return to paganism. It's the future. Christ came to free us from that, and this is our thanks. Disgusting. So Catholics are not happy about it. I don't know that anyone really is, except for the ones in the Vatican.
Yeah, the ones at the Vatican are.
Oh, here's an interesting point. A lot of young girls think they're witches now, so maybe they think the church can have spells to attract.
Yeah.
Well, it is definitely a concerning thing. I've watched some interviews. I don't know if I have. I don't think I have. Oh, come on.
Look, John, I'm casting spells. Where's all the young people?
Yeah, I know. I have my.
I'm gonna. Oh, look!
I have my wand.
You really have a real wand.
It's a real wand. Actually, this thing. Did I do a review on my other channel for this? No, I didn't. I was gonna compare this cheapo thing. It's a magnet at the end, and so you can pick up. You can extend it and pick up tools. It's actually really cool. Like not tools, but like if you lose a bolt behind somewhere where you can't reach it, you can stretch this thing out.
Well, you could also, now that this is the age of the Synod on Synods, you can also cast spells.
I'm going to make young people appear out of thin air. There they are. Look, the Synod is great. It's the new springtime.
Yeah, well, I have my retractable wand, so.
That's like the traditionalist version of the laser pointer. Because the laser pointer is dark magic or whatever, and then you just have an extendable pointing device.
Yeah, but that actually is concerning, though. A lot of the young people,
yeah,
they are serious about casting spells and this new age kind of stuff, and it really can be demonic, and maybe that's why our world's going downhill. So,
well, it is. You're absolutely true. The good news about this is that all these girls who are involved in the witchcraft, okay, they end up believing that there's spiritual realities, which is good because they don't learn that from the Novus Ordo. And then second, they're going to suffer. They're going to get hurt by these demons and the spells and whatnot. So that's going to, all that pain and the spiritual realities, when they convert, will lead them to traditionalism, to serious Catholic religion. And they'll become much better Catholics There's been in our Latin Mass parish, I know of 2 women who used to be into spell casting and witches who have converted back, and they're now traditionalists. So it good things, I guess, good things, or God brings good even out of these evils.
Yeah, and if you have like if someone does think they are possessed, who are they going to seek out? They're
Yeah.
not going to seek out some fortune teller or something. They're gonna.
Well, actually, a lot of times they do go to the fortune teller, but then that makes it worse.
Yeah, so well, I guess that would be their first option because obviously you don't want to go to a Catholic priest. But
No, they don't want to because they're like,
Oh, he's judgmental. Oh, he'll tell me to live a right life and go to confession.
oh wow, Catholic Northman, he has a magic secret of the TLM. The TLM parishes make children appear from thin air.
it's true. They just come
Wow.
out of thin air. Yeah.
That's a really profound observation there, and it is definitely a secret and that you won't find unless you attend the TLM.
Yeah, there's no kids in the Novus Ordo.
Okay, let's see. I think Ryan is right. The reason they are attracted to all of the paganism is because there's an obvious vacuum in spirituality after the rigid stuff was banned.
Yeah.
Let's we can talk about that a little bit. So I don't know. I was asking about the new rite of baptism compared to the old rite. Maybe this would be a separate show, but the old rite contains 3 exorcisms. And I don't know, does the new rite contain any exorcisms?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that would be right off the bat. You would want your baby baptized in the old rite for the 3 exorcisms. And from what I understand, it could take away the curse of Freemasonry.
I believe that's true.
Because if you have a family history of Freemasonry, then you need an exorcism on your family to remove that curse, if there is indeed a curse. And also, I talked to a Byzantine priest, and they have the 3 exorcisms in the Byzantine rite of baptism as well. So let that be an option if you have a Byzantine church nearby and you're looking and your old rite baptism is banned. But on the surface, I mean, I don't understand how any bishop can ban the old rite sacraments, like the old rite baptism especially, because if you see that just from a very obvious logical point of view, it's like, oh well, that's better. Like the old rite baptism is better,
Yeah, it is.
and so it's like, why at that point when it's like, okay, you're only forced to do the Novus Ordo baptism, when like at what point do you say, well, I could just baptize the baby then?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if I point that out to the bishop, like, okay, so you want to do this Novus Ordo rite of baptism, and they give them the chrism and everything, but can't I just say the words and I don't do any exorcisms?
Yeah.
So it's not, it's going to be, but it's going to be doing the same thing. So I don't know.
Well, at least in a Novus Ordo, there is an anointing of the child with the oil of catechumens, I think.
Yeah.
So there is it's not a sacrament of, I want to say it's a sacramental anointing, like as in the sacramental blessing of some kind. So that's better than you just doing it at home.
Well, this is a good question, and this is a little bit beyond my scope of understanding, so I don't know. Isn't baptism by itself an act of exorcism?
No, and the reason for that is because Father Ripperger explained there's been infants who were possessed because the demons were never driven out. The baptism makes you it gives you an indwelling of the Holy Trinity, so you're in a state of sanctifying grace, but it doesn't remove you from it doesn't remove the body from the realm of the devil. So the answer is no, it's not.
Okay, so RR has a pretty profound statement here. Incense in masses is bad, but incense used in neo-indigenous ceremonies with feathers is good.
There you go.
Oh boy, there we go. All right, welcome, Patty. I missed the notification.
Another
Yeah.
Patty.
Yeah, Patty. And you know what? I think this is a different Patty than one we had on before. So we have all. I think this is at least
we
the
have
third Patty.
Pat. I don't know how many Patties do we have. Patty McMullen is the top Patty. I don't know who the other Patty is. Patty Leather. I've seen him on here before. Is he also from Ireland?
I don't know. Patty, are you from Ireland?
Probably. Everybody named Patty is from Ireland.
Okay. You want to get some more of these comments here?
Well, Patty put in here to the solo obediencia question, so let's bring that up and shoot it out of the water. Go to the one above that at 805. So he says that secret ordinations to hide from the commies is not the same as disobeying the Pope. But I'll retort and I'll let you respond, Patty. We're not talking about secret ordinations to hide from commies. We're talking exactly about secret ordinations against the express permission of Pope Paul VI. So in that sense, it is exactly the same as disobeying the Pope. So you'll have to respond to that. Tell me how. If you respond to that, then what you're saying is that sometimes it's okay to disobey the Pope, and sometimes it's not okay to disobey the Pope. So I would like you to tell us when it's okay to disobey the Pope. That way we'll be able to write it in our notebook. And so if the opportunity comes out, we'll have your permission to disobey the Pope.
And we'll be able to get on the same page as Church Militant with their magic glasses.
Yeah, because in his next comment at 806, he says Archbishop Lefebvre made a grave error in disobeying God's Pope. The problem is, we just pointed out that Cardinal Slippy and St. John Paul disobeyed the Pope. So they did the exact same thing that Archbishop Lefebvre did, and JP2 is canonized. So maybe that's the path to canonization, is to disobey the Pope and do underground ordinations. So Patty Leather says that's not what Pope JP2 did. Patty, yes, it is. It's here. It's in George Weigel's book. He disobeyed Pope Paul VI and did an ordination, did an illegal ordination. Prove me wrong. Show me where. Go talk to Weigel and say that the JP2 did not disobey Paul VI, because that's what Weigel says.
All right. You know what? I really like these comments here. Also, in the Aztec ceremony, the shaman was speaking in a native language. I thought that languages the laity couldn't understand was bad. Well, not particularly. I think the languages, it's very specific with the modern church. The languages that the laity can't understand, that's okay, especially if it's like Spanish or an inclusive language like that. Where you have, but the vernacular is okay. Now, I did say on this channel that I went to Novus Ordo Mass. I went to, they had like the second reading in Spanish. And I'm like, what's the point? But then,
was there anybody there who could understand Spanish?
probably a few.
Okay.
I would say 90% didn't. I mean, yeah, I knew some Spanish, but if you're reading it, if you're like actually reading Spanish to me, I don't understand it. Like if I know a lot of the nouns, so I can say a lot of the nouns in Spanish. But if I'm trying to form a sentence, it's very awkward.
Yeah.
You know? But then the same church at a different time, they read the second reading in Arabic. So as long as it's inclusive language.
It's exactly. It doesn't matter if nobody can understand it, as long as it's not Latin, okay?
Yeah, really, as long as it's not a sacred language of the church.
Yeah, I mean, again, who believes in Vatican II? And Vatican II says that the Latin should be retained and it's very important and whatnot. And so, well, we can't believe Vatican II. We had to reject it. So there we go. I guess all these people are secretly like super duper radtrez. They reject Vatican II in Latin. So then, therefore, everything has to be in the vernacular, including strange languages that nobody understands, like Aztec or Arabic. Here it is. RR says it's fine if an imam comes into church, recites the Quran in Arabic. Fine for Aztecs to cast spells in their language. But if you say anything in Latin, it causes an aneurysm. Why? Because these people are possessed by the devil. And the devil hates Latin because it's one of the biblical languages. Latin, Hebrew, Greek. Those are the three languages that were written on the inscription above the cross. And these demons can't stand it. It's also how they get beaten all the time. They're sick of taking the beatings in Latin through the exorcism, so they flip out.
And people are trying to get a Spanish mass started. And I thought, what's interesting? Wouldn't it be great if there were a universal language of the church that everyone could understand?
Crazy,
Wouldn't
right?
that be great? But it's
Wouldn't
such a
it be?
pipe dream, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not. Now, I understand. I mean, if you're learning Spanish to give a sermon in Spanish, whatever. But come on, like, this is just ridiculous at this point. Like, oh, I'm going to have a Spanish mass, I'm going to have an English mass, and then what other languages do you want to have? Or why don't we just have one mass and we're saying, okay, the sermon's going to be in Spanish. All right, so you can sit through that. If you're, like, even if I don't understand Spanish, I can sit through a Spanish sermon and, like, I don't know, maybe look in the missal, look through the prayers or something. But no, you have to have all these different masses, all these different languages. So just bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patty Leather at 811. He's defending Wojtyła. He says Czech bishops were forbidden from ordaining priests. Correct. Polish bishops were not. Wrong. Polish bishops were forbidden from ordaining priests who didn't belong to them. That's a general principle of canon law. You can only ordain men who belong to you. You would need dismissorial letters from the Czech bishops. The Czech dioceses were effectively suppressed and under interdict. Therefore, those bishops had no authority to give dismissorial letters to Cardinal Wojtyła to entertain those men. It remains an illegal act to ordain those men. It's against canon law. You need dismissorial letters from those diocesan bishops. Wojtyła violated canon law to ordain those men. It remains.
Okay. You want to move on?
No, I have to go back here because Patty Leather is trying to justify what JP2 did. I agree. I'm glad that he did it. But JP2 disobeyed. Saint JP2 with full authority versus what... Actually, let's go back, Patty. You may be misunderstanding this. We're not talking about John Paul II doing ordinations. We're talking about Cardinal Wojtyła, okay, before he was Pope, disobeyed Paul VI. Paul VI, with full authority, said that the Czech dioceses were suppressed and those bishops were not allowed to do ordinations. So if they don't have the power to do ordinations, they can't give the power to do ordinations. So nobody gave Cardinal Wojtyła permission to do ordinations for Czech dioceses, but he did it anyway to keep the church alive. He disobeyed Paul VI. You have to admit that. Cardinal Wojtyła disobeyed Paul VI in canon law to make sure there were priests for Czechoslovakia. That answer remains. What is your response to that? You're going to say he didn't break authority. There's no evidence for that. Paul VI suppressed the dioceses, and Wojtyła disobeyed. So you can. Wojtyła showed us. Okay, here he goes. They were not forbidden. You are wrong, either intentionally. So through what? No, there's an exact. I don't know what you're saying. They were not forbidden. They were forbidden. The dioceses were suppressed. The Czech bishops were not allowed to ordain. Okay. You can't give what you don't have. Nobody had authority to ordain those men besides the Pope. You were trying to justify your schismatic secondary line. Don't take it up with me, Patty. Go take it up with the article with George Weigel, okay, and Peter Kwasniewski. You're the one that has the problem. So you're trying to justify what Wojtyła did and be, okay, now you're going back to JP2 as Polish, not Czech, obviously. But he can't, Patty, you have to understand, you can't ordain men for another diocese. That's against canon law. The only way you can do it is if you have a letter from the bishop from the diocese for whom you're ordaining those men. So those men being of Czech dioceses could not be ordained. It was illegal. So tell me how you can ordain those Czech men. Now he's saying George and Peter are wrong. Okay, well, there it is. Thank you. Patty Leather has shown us that George Weigel in his biography of JP2 was wrong, and Kwasniewski's wrong. John, me and you are wrong too. But Patty Leather, oh, in the comment box, he's right. He came in here and he showed us how we were wrong. We might as well just shut down. He should write the correction on 1 Peter 5 because he's proven us wrong. Now he's saying you cannot consecrate bishops without a papal mandate. He should tell that, Patty. You should go tell that to Cardinal Slippy because he did it. He consecrated Lubomir Hussar illegally in Rome, and there were no sanctions against him. As a matter of fact, JP2 made him a cardinal. So again, he violated canon law. So you're going to tell us how that's a lie? And Kwasniewski didn't have it right. It came right from the biography of Cardinal Slippy. So
well, we probably should shut down because it's getting to be about that time. Let's take a few more comments and then we'll wrap it up here. I wanted to get we brushed past RR's comment. This is like comedy hour. Thank you, RR. The ceremony also had multiple liturgical dances, of course, in both the native and Novus Ordo varieties. So, I mean, I don't know. These comments just crack me up.
Wait, there is a set of a contest in here.
Are you sure?
Let's go to this. JP2 is a construction worker.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, I'm not sure. Is MAS for Mason? I don't know. I'm not sure what he's getting at.
Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
Noble Clinton's here, and he says that he's a set of a contest. So we have a set of a contest in the comment box. Welcome, everybody's welcome here, including set of a contests. No blasphemers though.
I like his profile name.
Oh, it's no Bill Clinton.
Yeah, I mean that's that's an ideal for all of us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't feel like pressing on anymore. The problem is with the SSPX is that you get a lot of extreme reactions, and people always try to argue, and we've argued this a lot. And you can just look at some of the debates. We have extensive information about the SSPX on this channel. If that still doesn't convince you, then check out your options. And one thing I observed was that there were a lot of SSPX arguments. Not a lot, but there were some of them, like Catholic Answers and even Mother Miriam. I think Lifesite News. Was she on Lifesite News' channel?
Yeah, Mother Miriam is anti-SSPX.
Yeah.
Because she's all about sola obediencia. Okay, whatever. Yeah. Although she really isn't. I mean, she was against all this shutdown and stuff too. So I don't know.
Well, I know those two that I mentioned, Catholic Answers and Mother Miriam. Those videos where they said no, you can't attend SSPX. Their comments were shut down. So I'm serious though. Like I left my comments open, but it does provoke really, really angry and extreme reactions. I know that my one SSPX video where we talked about Church Militant, and it got like well over 200 comments, and it was basically just one thread where these people were going back and forth calling each other names. So
there ain't gonna be no names. And I'll tell you something. Patty Leather got a warning because I don't know who he was calling some kind of crazy, dirty alcoholic or whatever. So I don't know who he's referring to in that comment at 8:07. If he's referring to me, he can leave the channel and never come back. But let's continue on here because now we have. So Patty Leather says Wojtyła ordained priests with the permission from the ordinary, when their ordinary was forbidden to do so due to commies. No, you are wrong. The Czech bishops were forbidden by the Pope and the communist authorities from doing ordinations. So you're wrong. Pope Paul VI said that those bishops were not allowed to do ordinations. So there you go. Wojtyła did nothing wrong. I agree. He disobeyed the Pope to ordain bishops. Now he says that he wants to know where JP2, again, we're not talking about JP2, we're talking about Wojtyła. Show me where JP2 Wojtyła was disciplined or sanctioned for ordaining Czech priests. He never was, because it didn't come out that it happened until Paul VI was dead and Wojtyła was JP2 as Pope. He says that he wasn't disciplined because he didn't do anything wrong. I think he wasn't disciplined because nobody found out about it. So
I think was it Restoring the Faith Media? That's I think they had
RTF. They did the show with Kassman.
Jeff Kassman versus Dave Gordon, and I didn't watch it because I don't have time to watch people just like I don't really. What do you mean? I don't want to say I don't have time, but I just really didn't feel like listening to someone go on and on about like, you know how the Gordon actually even get to their point for like 20 minutes. To me, that's like, all right, I don't know. Plus I was sick of the SSPX debates. Like I've already made up my mind, you know.
Well, but I don't know who was, Kassman was on there when this news broke on Friday, I think it was. Mike from RTF had on this guy, Kassman, and he talked about it, and they went through this whole issue. Now, Mike from RTF was acting shocked, and I was like, well, this is what you do in the case of a persecution. You do stuff underground. Now, the whole thing was Paul VI should not have forbid the Czech bishops for ordaining men. I mean, that's stupid. So Wojtyła just disobeyed him and ordained men for his diocese anyway.
All right, do you want to wrap it up?
Well, I mean, Patty seems to be making the argument that the Pope was avoiding commies. Okay, but the Pope should not have put Czechoslovakia under an interdict. He should have allowed those bishops to ordain men. Wojtyła was not disobeying the Pope. The country was under interdict. The bishops were not allowed to ordain. There were not allowed to be ordinations in there. So that's Paul VI did that. You can read all about it. It's called Ostpolitik. Read all about it. It's the truth. Lefebvre was disobedient, so he was disciplined. Secret ordinations hiding from Soviets. Honest arguments a lot. I disagree. So you're entitled to your opinion, but I disagree. JP2 did the Wojtyła and Slippy. So you haven't addressed Slippy because what he clearly did is schismatic, but JP2 made him a cardinal. And I mean schismatic in quotations marks, doing secret episcopal ordinations. So, no, you're wrong. Wojtyła was bound by canon law. Wojtyła was bound by canon law, so he can't ordain men for another diocese without the permission of either the Pope or that diocesan bishop. That's canon law. Cardinal Burke just can't go around ordaining men without permission from their bishop. Otherwise, he gets suspended. So you're now, Patty, you're now making stuff up to try to make it look like JP2 was not being disobedient on paper, okay? He was being obedient to the highest law, which is the salvation of souls, but he was disobeying Paul VI, who was in bed with the communists. So that's the whole essence of the argument is, why wasn't Wojtyła punished? He was not punished because Paul VI died before he found out about it. That's why. So he couldn't be punished because Paul VI died and Wojtyła was made Pope because he did nothing wrong. Exactly. He disobeyed the Pope and ordained men to keep the faith alive in Czechoslovakia. So in that respect, you're right. But you keep reading stuff into the story because it's an inconvenient truth that Wojtyła and Slippy disobeyed the Pope to do ordinations. It's not exactly like Lefebvre, but it's quite similar. So there it is. So we got a sola obediencia here, or somebody who's, I don't know if he hates Lefebvre. Patty he'd say he doesn't hate Lefebvre. But, people are trying to justify what JP2 did based on, well, he had permission. No, that's not true. He did not have permission. and according to the law of man, but he did have it from the law of God. And so that's the point, is that sometimes you have to disobey bad edicts by the Pope in order to keep the faith alive. So that's the deal. You can disagree, but that's just the way the church works.
All right, well, that's going to be a wrap up for the show then. So, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your comments. And until next time, we are the laity.
And we will not be silent.